last video of this series, we have started to develop our NgRx applications where we was able to display the list of posts, and we was able to add this form where we can add a post. Now in this video we're gonna start learning about NgRx and how to set up NgRx and all the stuff, cool stuff. So since we are using a standalone package for the Angular 17, what we want to do is first install all the dependency that we need and then start to use those in our app. However, first thing is what we always need is a service, because we need to call the list of data. Now to do that, let's generate a service first where we can get all this stuff from backend. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the CLI generate a service. When we say posts slash post, so now we're gonna have a service here, I'm guessing. Yeah, so first thing is we're gonna have is create a function that gonna give us all the list of posts. Now note that to get all the data we need to define an interface. Usually what I do is, most of the cases is when you have a lot of component, I think I'm gonna have a core, and in there I'm gonna have a type definition. Now since we don't have a lot of thing just inside the core, I'm gonna just say post dot something. But on the other hand, this is also very useful. What you can do is, instead of core, you can just define the model here. So you can say post dot model.ts, and that way you can say export interface post. Now we can say all that definition whatever you need. Now we have seen that we already have a backend service running where our API looks like something like this slash post, something like this, right? Now if we look at, we have ID, title, and all the stuff, cool stuff. Now we're gonna define our interface like this: ID, number, and title is a string, same as body is also a string, and then is complete is optional, which is boolean, and then created at, let's take it as a string, because when we are receiving as a string. We could take as a date, but why not? Now since we have this post already, we can use this in service. Now we can say load all equal to, first we need is a HTTP module. In Angular, to call any backend service we use HTTP, so we can say HTTP slash HTTP client, and then we can say return this dot http dot get, and we can call observable and a list of posts. And we can say post. So this way we return observable, but we need the URL. So let's get the URL. Now this load can be called in our list directly. So let's do this. We need a constructor post service. Now I can say implement on init, and we start the interface where now if you see our data source is a list of element where I have a list of periodic table, right? Now for us we don't have periodic table elements, it's a list of posts, so we can remove it. We can say post again. Now if you see, the data is different. We don't need this data. We could just say that is a empty array where the type is post. Now these are all the columns, right? And for us the columns are different, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take ID, title, body, is completed. We're gonna use something like this maybe, and created that. Okay, so now we have all the column, and what we can do is we can say this dot data source equal to, we could have a list of data, right? But since we already have the service, what we can do is this dot load alt subscribe. We can say this dot data service equal to post. In that way we have all the data. Now notice in the list here the title and all those elements are different. So what we're gonna do is rewrite those based on whatever we have. So first one is our ID, and we can say ID. Second one is our title. Third one is body. Last one is completed, and there's another we need. We can remove all those unnecessary column and all those action created at. Maybe we should create another one for action, because we want to have this button, right? And here we could just add those button, and for that we need another one, action. We could have button, delete. We could have edit, and we can say matte raise button, and color one, whereby for this we can have accent. Now for all of these element, position, ID, title, body, is completed and created at. and then that's all we have. Oh, here ID, then title, body is completed, is complete, and created at. Now let's see if we have it or not. I'm pretty sure there's some issue. Okay, so if you see this HTTP provider error, this is because in the module we didn't use the provider. So what we can do is we can do provider, we can say post survey, sorry, now if we reload again, we didn't import the HTTP module for the HTTP provider also. So what we can also do by the HTTP provide HTTP client. Let's see now. No provider HTTP client. Okay, so it's a action, not what we have done here. Here action. Let's see. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, so we have the table loaded already. Now we have all the data, IDs, title. Here it looks a bit weird. What we can do is we can wrap it inside a div, or we can just pass a style. Display flex, that should be enough. So, and we need some gap. Two pixel, maybe 5 pixel. Yeah, so we have the data, we have all the stuff, cool stuff necessary, but notice that edit and delete is not working. But we can do one thing is whenever we click the edit, we can go to the edit page that we don't have. We have the post/add, but we don't have the edit page yet. So for edit, we can do is we can just add the router link equal to slash. So we are in the list, so we can need to go to post slash So what we can do is this. This is a variable we can take, and then I believe we can send an array, and we can say first arguments post, and then we can do element dot id, I believe. So post slash id, I believe this should work. Let's try it out. No. So post slash post. Yeah, I can remove this, and that should work. So we have this edit page, which is cool. Now we have post, add post, and we can go edit page. For edit page, we want to have the same form that we have, but we can figure it out later. Now since we have it, first thing is we need to do is, instead of, like, as you can see, we are sending an observable, and then we subscribing it to it. But there is another way also this can be done. We could just use the asynchronous method inside the data source, and that will also gonna work. How it looks like is this. We could just in the here in the data source itself, we could just say async, using the async pipe, and that should also work. However, what we don't want is add all the template code here. Instead of adding the code here itself, we're gonna make things much better to readable. And next thing is, we want to set up the store, because this data is only available locally. Now assuming if we want to update the store from some other component whenever we edit, or we want to add a new one, it's gonna be difficult to do the maintenance of this every time we have to call the API. Having a centralized store is always helpful, and to do that, this is the part where the NgRx comes in. So if we go to NgRx website, and their installation guideline, you'll see that they have a pretty standard CLI to add all of those in single command. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this, but first thing I'm gonna do is commit this. Okay, now next thing is I wanna add this, not yarn, I have a npm, I believe. Yeah, I have a npm. So I'll install. Now this will install all the stored effect entity DevTools. Let's explain why we need all of this. They explain pretty well. So whenever you want to store some data, you want to use Redux model, use the store. Effect is to handle any side effect. Let's say you change some data that has an effect. Routing is for the router binding. Entity is to store some. Will not use entity, this part. And this is a component store, so if you want to store any independent store onto any component level, that can be useful. This is very useful. In future we can make a video on that. Signal is recently introduced, and operator are just standard RxJS operator. So our package are all installed. If we look back to our package.json, we'll see that all the NgRx dependencies has been installed. Now, how do we integrate with this, right? So in standalone component on Angular 17, all the providers and things we can install directly here. So a couple of things we need to know is we need to start with the store and then followed by all of this, right? First thing is we need to add the store. To add the store, they have a installation guideline where you can use the CLI to add all the store whatever required. But for us, since this is the first time we are doing it, we will try to understand one by one. So let's try with store. To work with that, first thing first is we need a store to be integrated in the provider. So what we want is we add the provider store. So we say provide store, and provide store is take a object as a initially, and it is works like all the reducer. Now when we talk about reducer, we need to know what is reducer, right? Reducer is nothing but whenever we have an action, reducer will gonna take the impact and they're gonna decide where to store those data. Now we don't have any reducer yet, so we're gonna keep it empty. And then remember we have also the DevTools we have installed. Yeah, here DevTools, store DevTools. So where if we have it, what we can do is just we can open the Redux dev tool, and that will gonna give us all the data that we have done. Let's try with that. Store dev tools, where we gonna say, let's say max age (25), and we can say log only if we are in dev mode. So and in the comma. Now if we reload the app, let's say, inject must be called from a constructor. Okay, we have not did the all the injector. So if you see must be an injector such as constructor, a factory instructor, field instructor, find more, and HTTP error. So if you see, this router is the one which causing issue, but still if we open the Redux dev tool, we have not, since because of this error. Let's try to reload what happened. Okay, yeah, it, you see we are able to get all the data where we have the app initially and store in it. Now since we don't have any data or anything done, we are here. Now first thing is we need to set the global store first, because that's the first thing we need, right? So for to do that, what I'm gonna go is create a directory called store, and I'm gonna have a index.js. Now this is will be our centralized store where you're gonna have all of our data to be stated. Usually store will gonna hold either a single entity or you can store multiple. In this app we decide to gonna use the single one, because that's where we gonna combine all our store. So we're gonna have a constant name equal to root app, and we need an interface to what are the data store we're gonna have, right? App state, and we also need a state that will gonna have the all the data. And since we don't have anything, we will not have to define anything, and we're gonna have reducer, root reducer, maybe app reducer is a good name. We're gonna have combined reducer, and we're gonna have app state. And this app reducer we can now import directly in the config here. So what we're gonna do is import the app key, maybe root, this kinda, I don't know, this whatever, now app sound better, I guess. So app key, and for the reducer we're gonna have the app reducer. So now if you see, we're gonna reload, and we will have that root state already initially. If we go to row, we have the app, and this app, if we decide anything, it's gonna be available. Now we need a feature store, right? We have a post, and that need to be added directly here. So we gonna make a directory called posts, and for the post, either we can use a CLI or just use this, but this time what we're gonna do is use the CLI to have our reducer in the store itself. So first thing is, we're gonna go back and add the store, and if we see here, developer tool, is the store. Let's see. Yeah, here. So if you see, we can define all the store whatever we need in a root state or something, as well as same as reducer. Also we can just add the reducer and whatever. So what I'm gonna use this CLI, just reducer, we're gonna say post, and then we're gonna say store slash index.ts. What is unknown reducer? Generate user added to define the, 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 generate user Oh, I need a state first. Oh, my bad. So I can generate a store state. So it would be in the admin, but for us we have a different store path. We don't have a module, so I can just say store slash post, or just post. So they need a module, and I can just use this and create one that will also work. But then it just say unknown root module state. So my guess is I need to be able to use all the module here. So let's try it out and see what's going on. So I have a provider, router, and provider store, and then I don't need that thing else. um, I can just add this app module, and then I can say posts, okay, sorry, store slash posts, and that will gonna give me the store. But it just if I just create that, I'll just go ahead and create it manually, so it's just much easier for me. So let's create the reducer directly, because it looks like weird. I can say post slash reducer.ts, and first thing is similar what we have here, we need to define similar to that. Now first thing is we need the key, feature key equal to post, and we need the interface state equal to post. We need the array of data, which is whatever. We can say if loading state, loading boolean, and then we need to define is a list of posts, and then that's all initially we need. And the last one, we need to set initial state, right? Export constant initial state is a type of this state. We should be post equal to empty, and then loading will be false. That's the default state. And then now we need to create the reducer, right? Constant post reducer equal to create reducer. Create reducer will gonna take initial state, and then we can pass all the method. Now here, each of the time we need to pass the action. For example, load data, we can say we can just return state, and that will gonna work. But for this to make static, what we can do, we can create all the selector type. So if we talk about the in Redux way, that is considered as action, right? Now either we can create a separate file, but what I like is keeping all of this in single place. So also we can say constant actions equal to create actions group, and here we're gonna define source will be post API action, and then we're gonna say events. Now first one is whenever we try to load post, and we're gonna say props is nothing, or I can say empty props also, I believe. Yes. And then load post success, I can say prop p or props, and then the type will be first one is post will be post of array, and load post error will be error as a string. So now we have these all the events. What we can do now is here, instead of the load data, I can create 3 of these, and I'll say post action load post success and error. Now if you have noticed, whenever we load post, we don't pass anything, which is just a state, but whenever we have success, we need to pass this post. So for that to work, we need to be able to run those data directly. So what I can do for this is we can add another parameter where we can say post, which we're gonna receive, and then this time we can say loading true, this time loading is false, and this time also loading is false. And also since we have received the post, we can just add the post directly. So it's automatically gonna assign all the posts to here. Now we don't have a error, so we can just say error string. Okay, this is not the interface, so error is string, where we can just say optional, because I don't need, initially I don't want any error. However, in this case I can just pass the error from here. Now this is because I didn't say anything on errors. So let's rewrite the errors into errors, uh, this. So now my reducer is done. Now I need to be able to register the reducer, right? Remember we have this app config where we have this app reducer. We can just register this directly here. What we can do is take the feature key and we can say post reducer. Now we have the reducer automatic. Now if you notice, we don't have any app state or anything, right? But initially whenever the app is set up, we want to be able to set up the initial key so the app run without any issue. So for that, what we can do is set the initial key with the key initial state. What we can do is post initials, okay, this post initial state. You can define initial state. It's not mandatory, but it's good to have. And then for state, we can say post state. We can just say post state will be type of this. Now if you notice, we have all the data. Now app reducer is here directly. Now where does the state goes, right? Because we don't have this state to be used exactly. We're gonna define a selector where we're gonna be able to use this state directly. So now if we go back in our app and start to see, rerun the application and open our current state, let me reload again. The state is not reloaded. Let's see, we have the app reducer, app key. Okay, yeah, we didn't dispatch anything. Let's try to dispatch something from the post itself. This is the list, and here now first thing is we want to be able to import the store, where we can show private store as a type of app state, and whenever we come to engine we say dot, okay, this the store dot dispatch. Now if you remember, our initialize is load store, right? So we can say start load post. Now we'll see how it goes. If you have noticed, this is not yet loaded. Did we miss anything? Let's see. We have our app config, and then where we have all the data required, where we have app reducer, and in the app reducer we have the post reader. I don't think we need anything else. let's close all of it and rerun the app. Probably that will solve the issue. Oh, because I was in the home, but dispatch is happen only when I'm post. Um, if I go back, yeah, so this is the one. Now that's what I was the issue. When I'm home, I don't have anything right here. If you notice, now if I go to post, you see that I have this dispatch method, and that's where the thing happened. Right now, I don't have the state yet updating, because in whenever I dispatch anything from here, load post, it goes to in my reducer where I have this load post. Now if you see, loading equal to true should be loaded, which not yet happening. This is because we don't have any update on the store, though we are trying to update here. So something seems to be not working. Because if I see the state is still undefined. So if I go to app config, and then in this case, whenever we send the data, what we want is to be able to get all the store, and that is not happening. I am thinking if state and then app is still undefined. It should be root app. If I just say app, and then in the app itself I have command reducer and then my post reducer, because this is a app. Oh, here we go. So the hash was wrong. Now I have the post and the posts. If you see, loading equal to true and my empty array is empty. What we could do in here, instead of loading posts, if we return a empty array, I know pretty much that will gonna get updated. Now we don't need that. What we want is, we want to be able to send the loading success whenever call the API, and whenever loading success equal to true, then we update the post. And also at the same time, now we don't call the data directly here, we could use our effect to use the loading success. Once we have everything loaded, as we can see in the when you go to post, and then everything is getting loaded. And also for our reducer, if we open, we have the reducer being able to show all the action like load action and all the stuff. Next part is that so because here we dispatch this data, and we are able to show that in the dispatcher here. Now we what we want is we want to be able to create a selector. Why we need a selector is because using the selector we would be able to only import a particular part of the state and from the store, so we don't need to call this subscribe load all. What we can do is we can call the store directly here using the store, and then we can use the selector. We will not require this service also. So let's do this. So first thing is we need a selector, so we're gonna say post dot ts, and we're gonna first create a root selector which will gonna be our root selector. So we say export constant selector equal to not post feature selector equal to create feature selector, and you're gonna say app key. So we have root, so okay, so it will be post this one, post feature key. Now once we have that, we can say export constant post equal to create selector. We can say feature selector and state. So we have feature selector state and selector post. This will be this, and it will be app key. So here what we need is we need to say app state, which will be our root state, and then we can, oh no, not this. So we have the post export constant post data equal to, we can just whatever we choose we can do, but let's not so this way we have the selector. Now I want to change something, so here instead of post we can say data. This much easy way to handle. Now we don't have a post here, we have data, right? So we can say data equal to post. Now if we go here, we can say this store dot select post selector, we say post feature. Now we can just reset the thing, post dot data. So this way we can also see all the data should be posted. Now again the data would not update because we didn't update, but assume that whenever we send a reducer in here in this side, whenever load post, let's say we reset that data with a example data. So data is type of post where we have id. Let me just get something. id, let's assume, is 1. Title is something, title. Body, assuming this is body, and completed true maybe, and completed new date to string, and this. So if you see, if I load now, I have this data, which is kind of nice. So but for this to work, what we're gonna do is we need to be able to use the effect, which we're gonna learn in the next video. But so far what we have done is we are able to send whenever we go to post, we can dispatch a data with the event. Now what I can show also here, if you notice, is this. Now whenever I go here, if you see, I dispatch the load post. Now anywhere in the app I can say post actions dot success, and I can pass the data, and this can be any number of data I can pass. If I see, okay, pause, my bad. Now if you see, I should be able to pass any number of data. So now I'll have data stored here also. You see 3 posts, as well as I have load success where I have all the data, and I can see how the tree looks like, post and the data itself. This is pretty awesome. Like, we are able to now load data from anywhere. Now whenever we will have the effect, we would be able to do it much better way. So that's all for this state video. We're gonna learn about effect and other stuff next video. Thank you.